Hello and welcome back to midwesthockey.info. This is a pro show tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the pro show and give you a little bit of an update on where things are going with the website in general. I'll start with that actually. Just lately I've been thinking about getting away from doing so much writing. What I've been trying to do is kind of update as often as I can. Everything that's been going on in the pro and junior world through stories, mostly gamer type stories, with the occasional video. What I'm hoping to do now, within the next few weeks, is changing the format to more video and ultimately I believe audio, like radio type shows. I'm looking to get into that. I need to get some equipment, of course. But that's what I'm looking at as sort of my new focus. I think it's going to allow me to cover a broader area and get more information out there, and then focus just writing more about the players and sort of featuristic type of writing. I think it'll be a little bit better. So, as I said, this is a pro thing tonight. There's still 3 pro leagues going. All of them have some Midwest involvement. With the St. Louis Blues as the lone Midwest entry still in the ECHL. They're having a great run. In the American Hockey League, the Central Division tonight, actually as we speak, the Grand Rapids Griffins and Lake Erie Monsters are battling. They are just about to go into overtime as I put this show on. So some excitement there. One of them's going to move on. Of course, the Western Conference Final. If it's the Monsters winning tonight, they'll move on. If the Griffins win tonight, they'll move on. They'll have Game 7 tomorrow night in Columbus. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And the ECHL, the Fort Wayne Komets, unfortunately facing a bit of a tough go in the Western Conference Championship of the East Coast Hockey League. But let's go back and start with the NHL. The St. Louis Blues on an awesome run. As everybody already knows, I'm sure. It's hard to believe 2 weeks ago they were going into Game 7 against the Chicago Blackhawks. And, I have XM radio, and all anybody was talking about that day going into the big game was, how if this didn't work out, if they were going to drop this game against the Hawks, it was on home ice, so they had a bit of an advantage, I guess. But, they're playing the Stanley Cup champs. And if they were to drop it, there was probably going to be some pretty major changes for the Blues, including almost for sure a coaching change. Nobody is looking to move Ken Hitchcock right now. They are on an awesome run. They, of course, eliminated the Blackhawks and moved on to eliminate the Dallas Stars in another 7-game series. They've been pushed to the limit in both series and began last night the Western Conference Championship, taking Game 1 with a 2-1 edge against the San Jose Sharks, that on home ice at the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis. Interesting game. Basically came down to 1 goal. But the interesting thing was that the first 2 goals came just 34 seconds apart. I thought that was kind of neat. David Backes, the St. Louis captain, he got his 7th of an awesome playoff run, his 7th goal of the postseason. Minneapolis native David Backes, that was from Shattenkirk and Schwartz. Kevin Shattenkirk, Jaden Schwartz. That one came with 4:56 to go in the first period. The lead lasted all of 34 seconds before Thomas Hurdle tied things up also with his 7th. Actually, I think I might have that wrong. I don't think that was his 7th goal. I might have that wrong one here. Assists on that went to Joe Pavelski, a native of Plover, Wisconsin. Also, team captain there, Joe Pavelski, and Brent Burns with the other assists. So they're 1-1 after a period. Yori Laterra with a breakaway in the second period scores unassisted, and that ended up being the game winner. St. Louis taking Game 1 by a 2-1 count. Brian Elliott continuing an awesome postseason run. He stopped 31 of 32. Martin Jones turned aside 21 of 23 in the San Jose goal. So St. Louis draws first blood. Interesting night. The Sharks, the Blues had an 11-8 edge in the first period when both teams scored one. When the Blues got the only goal in the second period, the shots on goal edge actually hugely in favor of the Sharks by a 16-5 margin. That maybe was the key period of the game, as Elliott kind of helped them overcome that sort of lopsided shots edge, and they actually came out with the lead. And then third period was a little bit more even defensive period. 8 shots for the Sharks and 7 for the Blues. So game 2 will be tomorrow night, which is probably tonight. This will probably be Tuesday before this is uploaded. Also at the Scott Trade Center, as the Blues look to claim the Clarence Campbell Bowl as Western Conference champions. The winner will play either Pittsburgh or Tampa Bay for the Stanley Cup. So let's move on to the American Hockey League, and this is one of the most interesting series I've seen in some time. Both the Lake Erie Monsters, and the Grand Rapids Griffins really pushing first-round opponents aside. The Monsters got by Rockford in 3 straight games. The Griffins doing the same with Milwaukee, and both actually won the first 2 games on the road. So that was impressive, the way things started. The Lake Erie Monsters were on a run of, I think, 14 out of 16, including that first round, going into this one, and they all but buried Grand Rapids in the first 3 games, although all 3 games were close. The Monsters grabbed a 3-0 lead in this series, taking the first game 3-2 in overtime, and then capturing the second game 4-3, both down in Cleveland, and then Grand Rapids taking game 3, Monsters taking game 3 in Grand Rapids by 2-1 count. And interesting thing in game 4, Griffins come back to win that 5-4. Although in that game, Tom McCollum, who had been the starter for the Griffins basically since the start of the postseason, was pulled, I believe, with his team trailing 3-0. Jared Crow went in for the Griffins. Actually, it must have been 4-0 or 4-1, something like that, because Crow stopped 16 out of 16. Stopped all 16 shots he faced in his first action of the postseason, allowing the Griffins to rally back for a 5-4 win. They stuck with Crow again the following night. He stopped 35 out of 36. And the first lopsided win of the series, actually in Cleveland. Grand Rapids stayed alive with a huge 6-1 win to force Game 6 tonight. As we speak, that game is 3-3 and just going into overtime now, I believe. Actually, they're a couple minutes in now. That game 3-3. If the Monsters are able to pull that game out, they will win the division and move on to the Western Conference Championship against the Ontario Reign, who already has won the Pacific Division. They knocked off San Diego Gulls, I believe, in 5 games. So Ontario Reign, the farm team for the LA Kings, waiting for either the Monsters or Griffins in the Western Conference Championship. As I said, that one's 3-3. Here's some of the top scorers so far. It's amazing how things really turned around for the Griffins. They got a couple guys just really got hot. In that 6-1 win, Tyler Bertuzzi scored 3 goals. He's got 5 points now in this series. 4 goals, 1 assist. But the lead in points is shared by Andy Mealy. The one player on the Griffins who really has kind of consistently picked up points throughout this series. Mealy with 6 points already. He has 2 goals and 4 assists for the Griffins. Anthony Mantha also has 6 points. He has a goal and 5 assists. On the other side, Zach Werenski with a goal and 4 assists has 5 points Also at 5 points, Bertuzzi, as we said, with 4 goals and 1 assist. And Ryan Sproul of the Griffins has a goal and 4 assists. Eunice Corpusalo has been the guy between the pipes for the Monsters almost through the entire postseason. He stopped 22 of 24 in game 1, 23 of 26 in game 2, and 41 of 42 in game 3 to help his team to a 3-0 lead in the series. And a little bit of a setback in game 4. He handled 30 of 35. And then in game 6, the lopsided win for the Griffins. He stopped 25 of 30 before Anton Forsberg came in, and I believe he played the last maybe 10-15 minutes. He stopped 5 out of 6. So Anton Forsberg getting his first action of the postseason in game 6. That's all I have over here. I'll give you a bit of an update on tonight's game. I can tell you the scorers for tonight. Daniel Czar, he scored. That was his second of the series. Michael Shaplet, he also scored for the Monsters, his second goal. And Lucas Sedlak, he's had a pretty decent series too, I believe. He's got 5 points now, 3 goals, 2 assists. On the other side, the Griffins, Ryan Sproul, another point for him. So he's got 2 goals now, 4 assists for 6 points. Thomas Nosek with his first point of the series. And Xavier Roulette, the defenseman for Grand Rapids, his second goal of the series. So they, as we speak, are in over. Oh wait. Okay, there we go. Just breaking news as I'm saying this. Zach Werenski, his second goal of the series, 6 points. Zach Werenski with the overtime winner. The Monsters finally put down the Grand Rapids Griffins by a 4-2 margin. They will move on to play the Ontario Reign. So the Columbus Blue Jackets farm team will play the LA Kings farm team in the West Conference, and I can tell you already, the Toronto Marlies won a close game tonight. The East Conference will be the Marlies, Toronto Marlies, obviously the farm team for the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Hershey Bears, which is the farm team for the Washington Capitals. There you go, that's the Final Four in the American Hockey League. You heard it here first. So let's move on to the East Coast Hockey League, and I want to get through this quick. I know this is going long here. The Fort Wayne Komets are the only team left from the Midwest in the postseason. They're finding out something that the Missouri Mavericks, the best team in the league by far this season, something they found out in the last round is that the defending President's Cup champion Allen Americans are for real. They are having a postseason run, and ironically, a really good chance of a rematch of last year's championship series, as both the Allen Americans, who won the President's Cup, and the South Carolina Stingrays, who were the Eastern Conference champions, both still alive in their respective conference championship series. The Allen Americans taking 2 games in Fort Wayne to open this series. So really, the Komets, it's far from over. But they need to go to Allen for 3 straight games, and they're going to have to take at least 2 of them. So that tough assignment there for the Fort Wayne Komets. They'll be working at figuring out this Allen Americans team. Like I said, it's far from over. But down 2-0 in the series, having dropped 2 home games. And with that 2-3-2 format, boy, that really favors the Americans right now as they head back to home ice for the next 3, needing 2 to win the series. So good luck to the Komets. I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on how things went there. The first game, I believe, ended up 3-1. No, excuse me. It ended up 5-3 for the Americans. Greg Steffes, a shorthanded goal for the Americans. He's a native of Grand Blanc, Michigan. It was his fourth of the season. 28-year-old forward from Grand Blanc, Michigan, opens things up short-handed for the Americans. 5:27 into the game. A short time later, Gregor Hansen, who has just been the stud of the postseason, a 27-year-old Swede, makes it 2-0 on an Allen Americans power play, and a couple minutes later, Allen goes up 3-0 with yet another special teams goal on a power play. Casey Piero Zabatel with his 6th of the postseason. Fort Wayne finally gets on the board late in the first period when Trevor Cheek scored his 4th of the season of the playoffs from Troy Bork and Cody Soul. So Cheek gets things going late in the first period. After a scoreless second, it's Cheek again with his 5th of the postseason, again from Bork and Jordan Southern. 3:16 into the third period, so suddenly it's a 1-goal game. But just past the halfway mark in the third period, Nikita Jevpolov, a Latvian, for the Allen Americans, he put them up 4-2. Bork found the net for his 6th of the postseason. Still 6:32 to go, so a 1-goal game with 6:32 to go. J.D. Sharfsma and Cheek picking up the assists on that. Finally, though, Vincent Arsenault with an empty netter makes it 5-3 Allen. So they take the opening game. Riley Gill, a native of Northfield, Minnesota, 31-year-old goaltender for the Americans, picked up his 9th win of the postseason, stopping 23 of 26. Pat Nagel, 28 from Bloomfield, Michigan, takes the loss, unfortunately, handling 21 of 25. So Allen Americans take game 1, and a couple nights later, a must-win for the Komets. They gave it all they had. Game went to overtime, and Allen pulls it out 3-2 to take really a commanding lead in the series. It was Allen on the board first with a power play goal in the first period. Costello got the first goal. 22 seconds into the second, though, Garrett Ures for the Fort Wayne Komets ties things up from Gabriel Beaupre and Brett Perlini. 22 seconds in to the second period. We're all even. And the Komets get their first lead of the series at the 8:41 mark when Bork scored his 2nd of the series and 7th of the playoffs on a power play from Southern, and Sean Sidlowski, a 26-year-old native of St. Clair Shores, Michigan, puts the Komets up 2-1. The lead held up almost till the end of the second period. Arsenal tying it up for Allen with 30 seconds to go in the frame. Third period scoreless. Head to overtime, and Steffes, the same guy who opened the series with the first goal, pots the overtime game winner for Allen, his 5th of the postseason. Gill with yet another win. Gill stopped 8 of 9, but Joel Rumpel goes in for the Allen Americans, his first start of the postseason, I believe. He stops 15 of 16. Not sure why they made the goaltending change. Surely, Gill is doing fine. Maybe an injury there. I have not heard what the reason was there. We'll have to keep our ears open on that. So Rumpel gets the win for the Americans. Nagel, unfortunately, saddled with another loss. Stops 20 of 23. Game 3 of this series will be Thursday nights. That's May 19th. As we said, that's going to be back in Texas. As well, games on Saturday and, if needed, Sunday. If the Komets can pull off the 2 wins that they need to get this series back to Indiana, things will pick up again on May 24th with Game 6, and if needed, May 26th will be Game 7. Winner of this series will be the Western Conference champs and face either the South Carolina Stingrays or the Wheeling Nailers which that's the best team name in the league. Wheeling Nailers, I love that name. Their series currently tied 1 game apiece, and the winners of these 2 series will play for the President's Cup. That's all I have for now. I'm going to follow this up with a junior show highlighting the USHL Clark Cup Championship. Went there, got the t-shirt Friday night, and so we'll talk a little bit about that and the NAHL championship, which wrapped up on the weekend, the Robertson Cup. We have a new NAHL champion. So we'll follow up with that, and thanks for watching this. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.